My invitation to all of you to, if you would like to, if you feel called to come up at this time during our service, which we call our inspirational interval. I think just like the invitation to come and sing along with any of the songs that they do as the band, this is another great way to express whatever it is that inspires you, and that can be poetry, a song, a picture, a painting, a small video, or something like that. And again, like Chris said, this is a safe environment to do this. We're all loving, accepting, willing ears and eyes for all of that to happen. So know that there's this place for you. And I know that we've talked to a couple of us that perhaps they have a calling to do it but still can't find the right way to take that first step. I'll encourage you to take that first step. Just let me know so I can know how to give that right nudge. But anyways, my inspirational interval today, I came across this one as I was spending some time with my lovely wife last night. We were reminiscing about a trip we took a while, I don't even know how many years ago now it's been, to Jamaica. And it was a colder day yesterday, and we were kind of cozy by the fire and just talking about this trip. And so I pulled up a poem that I had written after we had been there, and the trip we took to Jamaica, we kind of split it into two different parts. We spent some time on the beach, and then we spent some time on some cliffs. And so this poem is a reflection on both of those parts of the trip, and it's entitled There and Back Again. So as I read this, you know, it's a sunny day out, but it's still kind of wintry looking out there, so maybe this can give you a nice vision of another place that can fill you until the green and all the continued warmth comes here. So there and back again. The beach with its sudden lure, the softness of the seemingly sifted white sand, the constant lull that shifts and repeats through its own scale of sound, evoking a different emotion as each wave takes its turn. When the horizon is still, it seems to extend to no end. When it is charged, rough with white and mist, it can appear as though it is lined with land. If I look long enough, regardless, it blurs and blends into an infinite point of stillness, where everything lets go and then simply is. The glimmering jade waters tempt and pull me in to be embraced in the ever-reaching hand of the ocean. Underneath both sun and moon, I surrender to be, floating in the constant pulse, one moment at a time of letting go. How hard to not think about what's next. In the letting go, the surrender, I can simply drift and be. The remarkable quiet of the cliffs, distinct with their own shushing, seem to resonate deeper into the rougher parts of me. From any distance, the sheer and stark rocks distinctly mark the line between land and sea. Each crash of the waves like a beckoning to come closer, to marvel upon its secrets. I lingered on the edge for countless moments of time, looking down upon the swelling water, with the knowledge that everything would be okay. All I had to do was jump. I focused into the stillness, felt the rhythm of the waves, and let go. The waters embraced me once again with a fuller sense of support. I bobbed and steadied my pulse and breathing, sharing what seemed like a cosmic breath with the ocean. Smiling with my whole being, resolved in having taken that leap. I'm grateful to have these moments to reflect upon when I need to hear things differently or refocus my vision, when the rough parts need softened or when I feel stuck at the edge. Having been there and back again, my horizons feel different, changed by each sunrise and sunset, by sea, sand, and surf, and everything in between. Thank you.
Thanks. Now, for a moment, I was definitely there in the hotness with the water, but it's okay to be here too. So before we begin, I want you to do with me, if you would, the Wonder Woman Superman thing?
You want to just sit, you did, in the power of that one thing. Take one deep breath as Superman or Wonder Woman. Have you seen that new Wonder Woman? That is my new girl crush. My new person who aspires to be like. Good. So feel a little solid with the lift that in. Our body's part of our receptor mind. Awesome.
Now you already think this talk is better. Yeah. Here's a quote from Genesis. Then God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." That's Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Now, just a little bit of Bible, just a tiny little bit of Bible scholarship. Isn't it interesting? Let us make humankind in our image. That's one of the ways we know there's different authors of the Bible. Genesis has at least 2 authors and some redactors. And the Bible writer of this was telling a story and a history of the people, the Hebrew people. But what I want to go to is let them have dominion over everything on the earth, especially, which is the best, every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. Now, the classical metaphysical interpretation through unity is, what do you have dominion over? In this story specifically, you have dominion. We as humans have dominion over our thoughts. That we are everything in the story of creation. It is our story. It isn't just the story about God creating everything, although it is that story. It is also our story about how we're creating our personal everything. And dominion over our thoughts. That, of course, is the good news and the bad news, right? We have dominion over our thoughts. I want to read you this from Paul Selig from the book of Love and Creation. "I am now accepting that I am in dominion of all that I see before me. And everything that I see is outpictured by my consciousness." Hello? "By my consciousness to bring me the experience that I have required for my soul's growth." Well, that lays it on the line. It's unequivocal. I am now accepting that I am dominion of all that I see before me, and everything that I see is outpictured by my consciousness. Every single thing I see, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is here to bring me the experience that I've required for my soul's growth. That changes everything. That is a huge paradigm shift. If every single thing becomes, every single thing becomes a messenger. Wow, that's way better than everything becoming an enemy, or everything becoming a burden. And let me tell you, I've had a week where I could have pointed out my enemies, my burdens, and all the things I didn't like about the weather. So let me be really clear about this talk. I am speaking to where I want to be, and sometimes I can be and have been, but in all frankness, I do not have dominion every day over everything. I do not have dominion over all my thoughts all the time. If I did, I would be, well, you can tell when I do because I'm happy and joyful and You know what it's like. You all know. You've all had that experience of feeling happy and joyful and like everything is going your way. It's a walk in the park instead of a walk in the jungle. And the interesting thing is, it's a walk in the park through the walk in the jungle. When we actually have that dominion, we're walking in the jungle, or we're, or it's bad and dark and snowing or whatever it is we don't like, and we still feel like we're walking in the park. Because the snow is just a messenger. Our enemy, the person who is trying to take something, we think they're trying to take something away from us, who's trying to hurt people, we think, that is a messenger. I have found myself in the past couple of weeks, and I've been telling you, facing fear, just facing a lot of fear, having fear come up. And one thing I remember from A Course in Miracles is you are never upset for the reason you think. You are never upset for the reason you think, and you are never afraid for the reason you think. I am usually never afraid for the reason I think I'm afraid. I think I'm afraid driving in the snow. I think I'm afraid because of Syria. I think I'm afraid because of water quality. I think I'm afraid because of tornadoes. I think I'm afraid because of gum disease. I think I'm afraid because of how much gum disease is going to cost me. I think I'm afraid because I think my sister might be mad at me. Now, the beautiful, wonderful good news is that we are all about our spiritual path, right? And that means that there's a spiritual solution, especially if we take a metaphysical interpretation of the messages that are coming to us. By metaphysical, it just means beyond the physical, right? And we take a personal message from the things that are happening to us. Then it's a beautiful message about what we get to do to raise our consciousness. I know that everybody in this room is operating at a pretty high consciousness. The truth is, you couldn't actually stand to come in here. I mean, you wouldn't like it. You would want to leave if you didn't have a resonance of truth within you. You didn't have a certain level of truth and realization that you want to be the Christ self. You just couldn't come in the room. Or if you did come in the room, you wouldn't like it so much you would want to leave. So everybody here has a level of consciousness that's on the way, yay us. And probably like me, your level goes like this, and sometimes you have dominion, and sometimes let's just say, things are getting you down. Sometimes the fear is residing. I've really been aware of that this past couple of weeks. That fear is taking up space within me. And you know what? It's taking up energy. And I am, frankly, tired of that and really ready to say, I don't have time. I don't want to expend my energy on fighting the fear or resisting the fear. And there's all these beautiful spiritual solutions. Okay, number one, what happens when I get afraid and busy and chaotic? Well, I might forget to meditate. Seriously, it's unbelievably ridiculous, but I might wake up and forget to meditate. Well, not now. I've figured it, I'm back on my right track. Anytime things feel bad and you don't have time to meditate, you better meditate twice as long or twice as often, maybe not twice as long. You want to make it so it works for you, But do it, do it. Like anytime when you're too busy. And I know that the world is on your butt. It's on, it's on mine, and my kids are grown already, so but I know that the world and what the world wants you to do is on you, and it doesn't let go of you, and we all have lots of stuff to do. So we do have to carve out some time for ourselves. And that's the first solution, meditate. We want to jump a level of consciousness. Now, as I have a new person I'm seeing, a spiritual director, and I'm really enjoying this, because I just knew that somebody else needed to help me besides me give me some perspective, because I have lots of opinions, but it's really good sometimes to have somebody else just sit with you in your spiritual walk, give you a little perspective. It's always a good thing. And in one of our times together, her theme for me has been, well, how do I hold on? Where can I let go? And I was reminded of this absolutely beautiful Buddhist story that I never got before. It's more of an image. It's a teaching about compassion. It's one of Pema Chodron's teaching about compassion. That there's an image of a mother without arms running alongside the river while her baby is floating down the river. That just gets you in the stomach. A mother without arms running alongside the river while the baby is in the river. And it's a teaching about compassion. Okay? It's a very dramatic example of having compassion. And of course, the first thing that gets you is like, no, it's just like if you freak out. If I freak out, the first time I think about that, I freak out. And I got it in a different way. That if you're the person without arms, it's not your job to pick babies out of the water. Okay? If you don't have arms, the universe doesn't expect you. It's not the way it works. It's not your job to pick babies out of the water. And in my view of the universe, it is somebody's job. Okay? So, and it's also, it's very symbolic of being a parent, for one thing, is that you can't do everything for your kids. Like, how soon do we learn that lesson? The first day, the second day, whatever, that you absolutely can't do everything you want for your kids. And that starts to be painful. And the whole thing of parenthood is learning when to stop doing stuff, so that, hopefully that you're not feeding your 40-year-old dinner every night with a sippy cup, whatever, it's like, that's the absurdity. But you do have to feed your infant, right? So, and then let's look at this metaphysically, okay? So there's the whole parenthood thing, and then there's the whole metaphysically thing, meaning what's our baby going down the river? What is there going down the river that we're running by that we want to control, take care of, hang on to, make sure it's okay? And it's funny, when I was sitting with my beautiful spiritual teacher, it was like, it's not my job. It's like I got this smack, and it felt relief. I felt relief. I felt relieved, like, okay, it's not my job. If I don't have arms, it's not my job. And then the interesting thing personally for me is that I've actually been, while I've been going through all this stuff with Roland, who's getting better every day slowly, and I am doing stuff for him that normally I wouldn't do, like, I'm cooking more and picking things up. Well, I started having pain in my hands. Like it's interesting. And first I was like, "Curse you, universe! One more thing! How dare you now?" I can go on, but no. It's like, wait a minute. What if this was a message to let go? Oh, what if it was? Is there any way that I over-control things? Not me. Maybe I could let go of a few things. Maybe everybody would be happier if I let go of a few things. So the last thing I want to say about this is, remember in the olden days when we had television? How many channels did you have when you were a kid? Not you, young people. Three or four, okay. How many channels do we have now? 1 million? I don't know, at least 1,000. There's at least 999 places on my TV. All right. That means that we are the TV, or the analogy is we are the TV, and when we up our consciousness, we are upping our channels. We are upping our channels, and we need to, like, not all the channels are great, perhaps. One of my friends texted me this week that her acupuncturist took all of her news feeds off her phone. She was letting in some channels that maybe weren't the highest thought. I mean, think about this metaphysically. There's lots of, it applies in so many levels, how many channels there are, how many channels we have to receive, and what ones we're going to listen to. The highest thought, okay? There's a channel that I'm going to call the highest thought for all concerned, that we have access to. It's in our inner knowing. So the highest thought for all concerned. The highest thought for all concerned has everything to do with recognizing when you're the mother with no arms running down the river. Because when we are tuned in to the highest thought for all concerned, that channel, we get, I have no arms. It is not my job to pick up the baby. And yet have compassion. It's not my job, I don't care. It's the mother's running alongside the river. It's not my job, and I have compassion, and I am tuned in to the highest thought for all concerned. So, either, I figure out what my job is about the baby, I run into somebody who, I said, go pick up the baby, or whatever it is, right? Because I'm tuned into that channel, so. One warning, do not practice this by noticing how other people are. Okay? Do not notice this by noticing how the other people are hanging on. This is about us. Start where we are. Pause. Look for the higher thought and practice kindness for somebody else in the room. Let's take an offering for unity.